The Human Security Officer, Part 53. Things were a mess, an absolute catastrophe of a mess. Not the usual chaos one might expect in a lived-in space, but rather a new and bewildering level of disarray, like a tempest had swept through her life and left behind a whirlwind of disorder. The military had instilled a stringent sense of organization in her, molding her into someone who thrived on cleanliness and order. Yet, it didn't take long for her to abandon those habits, reverting to a more chaotic lifestyle that often felt like a rebellion against the confines of her past. A sense of mischief danced in her mind as she surveyed the room. Who was there to judge her? What consequences awaited her for choosing to let things lie where they fell? The answer was simple: none. And she couldn't deny that the freedom of her disorder brought her a peculiar sense of joy. Despite the overwhelming mess that surrounded her, a few critical items were carefully tended to. Pen made her way through the strewn pile of clothes, her mind focused as she moved toward a small, unassuming lockbox nestled in the corner of the room. It had relocated from its original spot during her last bout of tidying, but she found it without difficulty. She picked it up, noticing its weight and the sense of security it provided. With her free hand, she righted her overturned bed, an exercise in futility, but one that offered a small measure of satisfaction. Sitting down on the now straightened cot, she placed the box in her lap. With a quiet moment of anticipation, she lifted the lid, hoping her precious belongings had survived the chaotic atmosphere intact. To her relief, everything was jumbled but undamaged. Most importantly, the glass bottle of ricilla, a prized possession, had remained unbroken. She set the handgun and knife aside first, carefully extracting each weapon from the box and placing them on the cot beside her. Then she turned her attention to the bottle, inspecting it closely. It was a beautiful piece, smooth and glistening in the soft light filtering through the window. With a gentle touch, she ran her fingers over the glass, a smile creeping across her face as she realized it had survived without a single scratch. The bottle was almost a talisman for her, a connection to a world that felt distant yet familiar. She hesitated for a moment, then pulled the cork from the bottle with a soft pop. Bringing it to her nose, she inhaled deeply, allowing the rich, smoky scent to envelop her. It was a comforting aroma that brought back memories of laughter and camaraderie, of nights spent sharing stories and dreams with friends. After a brief moment of indulgence, she corked the bottle again and set it aside, knowing it would remain a cherished part of her collection. Next, she reached into the box for a small, worn coin, flipping it in her palm. Its surface bore the etching of a three-headed dog, each head displaying a different expression. Aggression radiated from all three, but the middle one bared its teeth most ferociously. The coin was in poor condition, its edges chipped and tarnished from years of handling, save for two polished spots that gleamed as if they were meant to catch the light. She placed the coin next to her knife and gun, where it belonged. Finally, she extracted her leather-bound notebook and a handful of pencils. The notebook was a treasure trove of thoughts, sketches, and dreams, an archive of her innermost musings. Flipping it open, she felt a wave of relief wash over her as she confirmed that the pages were intact, unharmed by the chaos around her. Tucked within the cover, she discovered an old photograph, a relic of happier times. It was a physical print, not the digital images common in this era, taken during a rare shore leave. The memory of that day flooded back. Jane, her best friend, had dragged everyone to a quirky antique shop where they posed for the picture, laughter echoing in the air. As she gazed at the faces captured in that moment, warmth blossomed in her chest. Each of them had been so full of life, dreams, and the reckless hope of youth. But as quickly as the nostalgia washed over her, she carefully placed the photo back into its resting place and closed the notebook. She inspected her pencils, finding them unharmed, before returning them to the box as well. With everything safely packed away, Pen closed the lockbox and slid it beneath her bed for safekeeping. She cast one last look around the chaotic room, deciding that the mess could wait. Today, she had other priorities, and the world outside beckoned her with promises of adventure and new experiences. Stepping out into the sun-drenched day, Pen allowed herself to revel in the tranquil air, a stark contrast to the storm of thoughts swirling within her. The lush greenery surrounding her home swayed gently in the breeze, and the sounds of laughter and chatter echoed from the town nearby. As she strolled through the village, she couldn't help but smile at the familiar faces that greeted her. The townsfolk waved, their expressions filled with warmth and camaraderie. There was something so deeply satisfying about the sense of community here, a feeling that she had longed for during her years in the military. People were bustling about, preparing for the festivities that would soon engulf the town. Colorful stands were being set up, long wooden benches were being carried to the central square, and ribbons danced in the gentle breeze as they were hung up for decoration. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and excitement, and Pen felt a pull toward the heart of the action. Suddenly, a savory aroma wafted through the air, tantalizing her senses and igniting her curiosity. It was a rich, salty scent that beckoned her closer. Following her nose, she made her way toward the town square, where the source of the delicious smell was revealed. Large metal grills had been set up along the outskirts, billowing fragrant smoke that twisted and turned in the afternoon light. The duo manning the grills were a pair of portly humans, seemingly at ease as they sat in extendable chairs, keeping a watchful eye on their culinary creations. Pen approached, her mouth watering as she took in the scene. "Sorry, hon, ain't nothing to eat here yet," the woman called out without even looking up. Pen chuckled, raising her hands in mock surrender. "Ah, sorry if I was getting in the way." The woman's hearty laugh was infectious. "Heh, you're fine. What are you cooking?" Pen asked, her curiosity piqued. "Not cooking, smoking. We've got some standard briskets and ribs, a pork shoulder, and a couple of pork butts. Oh, and chicken breasts. But in this little guy," she said, pointing to a smaller grill, "I've got some salmon going. Alas, hun, none of this'll be done till later tonight. The worst part of the process is the waiting." She chuckled again, a warm sound that made Pen feel welcome. "Ugh, well, I'll be back by later tonight then," Pen replied, feeling a mix of disappointment and eagerness. "Sure thing, honey. Check out everyone's stuff. I get competitive, but we don't have any bad food here, no matter who you go to. I'll make sure to bring my appetite," Pen declared, her smile widening. "Oh, we're more than a match, even for someone like you, darlin'," the woman replied, her competitive spirit shining through. Just then, the man beside her, an older fellow with a majestic salt and pepper beard, spoke up, his voice gravelly but kind. "If you're looking to work up an appetite, I know folks are still hauling stuff around if you want to help." Pen's eyes lit up. "Might as well. Point the way." The man motioned her over to a pair of townsfolk who had just put down a long bench, and she followed him, ready to dive into the heart of the festivities. Meanwhile, Deeg sat near the town's mayor, observing as his crew mingled with the townsfolk. Some of his crew members had chosen to remain aboard the ship, reluctant to engage with the humans. He didn't begrudge them their hesitance. The stories they had heard about humans often painted them in a less than favorable light. But most of his crew was embracing the opportunity to interact with the people of this world, and he found joy in witnessing it. The humans, with their warmth and grace, were dismantling the preconceived notions that had been ingrained in him. It seemed almost silly to believe in the stories, especially when reality presented a more complex picture of these people. He chuckled to himself, marveling at the irony of his thoughts. The truths about each other were layered and nuanced, full of simple complexities. "Was that a laugh?" a wrinkled woman nearby asked as she handed a piece of paper to a young man. "You pick up mannerisms quickly." "Yes, it was," Deed replied, amusement still lingering in his voice. "Care to share?" she inquired, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "It's just funny, I guess, to see your people like this," he admitted, gesturing to the lively atmosphere around them. The woman looked around, her gaze sweeping over the bustling town square. Doing everyday things? Exactly. It's a different side to your people than I'm used to, and very different from what the rumors would have you believe, he explained. I can only imagine, but I can't say I'm surprised. The warships sent a very specific message, she replied, her tone contemplative. They certainly do, he agreed. Wouldn't be how I would have us reach out into the greater galaxy, but I guess I don't get to decide, she mused, her voice soft yet firm. How would you, he asked, intrigued by her perspective. Reach out to you all, she echoed, raising an eyebrow thoughtfully. Perhaps a potted plant in hand? I think that sends a better message. She smiled conspiratorially, her laughter infectious. Deed chuckled as well, appreciating the wit in her words. Their conversation flowed easily, a bond forming between them as they shared thoughts on their worlds. Fear, she spoke suddenly, her expression turning serious. He responded, taken aback by her shift in tone. It's fear, I think. We haven't let it go. We still think in terms of us and them, you see. I suppose I get it in one way. Who knows what's out there? Or, not even that, but something worse. Some young ones, hell, not even the younger ones, if I'm being honest, they don't understand the difference between strength and power. They think might makes right. They're so very proud of all the wrong things. And, sorry, I'm rambling. I've started to ramble in my old age. Deeg listened intently, his heart heavy with understanding. No need to apologize. I can't speak to your woes there, but I see what you've helped build here, and it's a grand thing. I know achievement in one area does not a master in all others make, but... She smiled warmly, the crinkles at the edges of her eyes deepening with her expression. It's been a work of many, but I am proud of what we've made here and of my contribution. Deeg felt a sense of kinship with her, a connection that transcended their different backgrounds. You know we may be leaving soon and ranging far, but I can't help but imagine a situation where we find our way back here with useful and alien items and leave with things the greater galaxy might find novel. Her gaze sharpened, an understanding passing between them. She was keenly aware of his intentions, and he felt a thrill at the prospect of collaboration. I think we can come to an arrangement, she replied, her smile broadening. The sun began its descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, casting a warm glow over the town. Penn worked tirelessly alongside the townsfolk, hauling benches and helping set up for the evening festivities. Laughter and camaraderie filled the air, and she felt a sense of belonging that had been absent for far too long. As the sun dipped lower, the tantalizing aroma from the grills intensified, mingling with the sounds of music and chatter. People began to gather in the square, their faces alight with anticipation. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the promise of a night filled with laughter, stories, and delicious food. Eventually, the woman from earlier, now bustling around with newfound energy, caught sight of Penn and waved her over. You're just in time. We're about to unveil the feast. Penn's stomach growled in response, a testament to the hard work she had put in. She made her way to the front of the grill area, excitement bubbling within her as the large metal grills were opened, revealing perfectly smoked meats that glistened in the fading light. Look at this, the woman exclaimed, her pride evident. Ribs, brisket, pork shoulder, and salmon, all ready to be devoured. Penn's mouth watered as she surveyed the spread, her heart racing at the sight. The smoky scent enveloped her, pulling her closer to the feast. It looks incredible, she said, unable to contain her enthusiasm. The woman laughed, her eyes sparkling with joy. Wait until you taste it. I've been waiting all day for this moment. As people began to serve themselves, Penn found herself swept up in the energy of the crowd. The townsfolk welcomed her with open arms, inviting her to share in their joy. Plates piled high with food made their way to her, and she couldn't help but indulge in everything that was offered. Between bites, she engaged in animated conversations, exchanging stories and laughter with the people around her. It was a celebration of life, a tapestry woven from the threads of shared experiences, hopes, and dreams. As night fell, lanterns lit up the square, casting a warm glow over the festivities. Music filled the air, and people began to dance, their bodies moving in sync with the rhythm of the celebration. Pen felt a surge of happiness as she joined in, allowing herself to be swept away by the joy of the moment. Amidst the laughter and merriment, her thoughts wandered back to Deeg and their earlier conversation. She couldn't shake the feeling that this place held untold stories, untapped potential. As she twirled and laughed, she realized that the barriers between their worlds were slowly crumbling, replaced by understanding and connection. The celebration continued late into the night, and as the last of the food was consumed, people began to gather around a large bonfire that had been lit in the center of the square. The flickering flames danced in the cool night air, casting a warm glow over the gathered crowd. Pen found herself seated on a bench next to the woman from earlier. They exchanged smiles, the warmth of the fire reflecting in their eyes. "You know, it's nights like this that make all the hard work worth it," the woman remarked, her voice filled with contentment. Pen nodded in agreement. "It really is. I've missed this kind of community, the connection with people." As they sat together, listening to the sounds of laughter and music, Deeg approached, a thoughtful expression on his face. He had been observing the festivities, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he said, his voice low and warm. "Not at all." "Join us," the woman exclaimed, gesturing for him to sit. Deeg settled onto the bench, and the three of them shared stories under the stars, their voices mingling with the crackle of the fire. Pen felt a sense of peace enveloping her, a feeling that she had found a place where she truly belonged. As the night deepened, Deeg spoke about his travels, his adventures through the galaxy, and the things he had seen. "You wouldn't believe some of the worlds I visited," he shared, his eyes lighting up with the memories. "The diversity of life and culture is astounding. But it's the connections we forge that make it all worthwhile." Pen leaned forward, intrigued. "What do you mean by connections?" Deeg paused, choosing his words carefully. "Every planet has its own story, its own people. But it's the moments of understanding, the friendships that form between different cultures, that truly enrich our experiences. I've learned that we're not so different after all." The woman beside them nodded in agreement. "That's what we're trying to build here. A sense of community, a bridge between our worlds. We may have our differences, but at our core, we all share the same desires, to connect, to understand, to belong." Pen felt a surge of hope at their words. The idea of forging connections, of breaking down barriers, resonated deeply within her. It was a vision she wanted to be part of, a future where understanding triumphed over fear. As the bonfire crackled and the stars twinkled overhead, the three of them shared laughter and stories, their hearts open to the possibilities that lay ahead. They were forging a bond that transcended the confines of their worlds, a connection built on shared dreams and mutual respect. As the night waned and the first light of dawn began to break, Pen felt a renewed sense of purpose stirring within her. The festivities had revealed something profound, a realization that she was part of something larger than herself, a community that embraced diversity and celebrated connection. When the sun finally peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and orange, Pen made her way back to her home. The events of the previous night played through her mind like a cherished memory. She felt invigorated, ready to tackle the mess that awaited her. But as she entered her home, she found herself hesitating. The disorder that had once felt like a comforting rebellion now seemed insignificant compared to the vibrant life outside. She made a decision then. She would clean, not out of obligation, but as a tribute to the connections she was nurturing. With renewed vigor, she set to work, putting things in order, straightening her room, and creating a space that reflected her newfound clarity. As she dusted off the surfaces and organized her belongings, she felt lighter, as if shedding layers of old habits that no longer served her. After hours of cleaning, she stood back to survey her work. The room felt different, inviting and alive. In that moment, she realized that the messiness of her life had mirrored her inner turmoil. Now, as she embraced the beauty of organization, she also embraced the possibilities of a new beginning. Stepping outside once more, Pen inhaled deeply, the crisp morning air filling her lungs. The town was already coming to life, the sound of laughter and music echoing in the distance. She felt a pull towards the community, a desire to engage and contribute. As she walked through the bustling streets, she greeted familiar faces, feeling the warmth of their smiles and waves. The connections she had forged during the festivities blossomed into friendships, and she felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. When she reached the town square, she spotted Deeg and the woman from the previous night, engaged in conversation with a group of townsfolk. The sight filled her heart with joy, and she joined them, eager to share her thoughts and ideas. "Good morning," she called out, her voice bright and cheerful. The group turned to her, their faces lighting up with smiles. "Pen, you're just in time. We were discussing plans for the next gathering," Deeg said, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Gathering?" she asked, intrigued. The woman chimed in, "Yes. We want to create more opportunities for our communities to come together, to share in our cultures and traditions. Your insights would be invaluable." Pen felt a surge of excitement. "I'd love to help. We could exchange stories, share our cuisines, and create an event that highlights our similarities." As they brainstormed ideas, Pen realized that she had found her place among them, a bridge between worlds, a voice advocating for connection and understanding. The conversations flowed easily, ideas bouncing back and forth like laughter in the air. Pen felt energized, inspired by the shared vision of unity and collaboration. This was her new purpose, her chance to make a difference. Days turned into weeks, and the town thrummed with activity as plans for the gathering unfolded. Pen worked closely with Deeg and the woman, whom she learned was named Ruth, to create a celebration that would bring their communities together in a meaningful way. They organized cultural exchanges, where each group could showcase their traditions, cuisines, and stories. Pen was thrilled to be a part of it, eager to learn about the rich history of the humans while sharing her own experiences. As the day of the gathering approached, excitement filled the air. Townsfolk began to prepare, crafting decorations, practicing performances, and cooking up their favorite dishes. Pen felt the energy of the community wrapping around her like a warm embrace, each task a testament to their shared commitment to building connections. Finally, the day arrived. The town square was transformed into a vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds. Banners adorned the stalls, each representing a different aspect of their cultures. The air was filled with the delicious scents of various cuisines wafting through the streets. Pen stood at the center of the square, her heart swelling with pride as she looked around. Deeg and Ruth joined her, their faces beaming with happiness. "Can you believe this?" Ruth asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "It's incredible," Pen replied, her voice filled with awe. "We did this together." As the event kicked off, Pen found herself immersed in a whirlwind of activity. She moved from stall to stall, sampling foods, engaging with the townsfolk, and participating in cultural demonstrations. Laughter and joy echoed through the square, and she felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. Throughout the day, Deeg shared stories of his travels, captivating the crowd with tales of distant worlds and extraordinary beings. Pen felt a thrill at the thought of the adventures he had experienced, the lessons he had learned along the way. In return, Pen shared stories from her own life, recounting her journey and the struggles she had faced. Her honesty resonated with the crowd, and she saw understanding reflected in their eyes. It was a moment of connection, a reminder that they were all part of a larger tapestry of existence. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the festivities, the energy shifted to one of celebration. Music filled the air, and people began to dance, their movements an expression of unity and joy. Penn felt a sense of belonging, a realization that she had found her place within this vibrant community. As the gathering continued, Penn found herself lost in the rhythm of the music, dancing with abandon among the townsfolk. The laughter and joy that surrounded her felt like a balm for her soul, healing wounds she had carried for too long. In that moment, Penn understood the power of connection, the way it transcended barriers and brought people together in celebration of their shared humanity. The walls that once divided her from others began to crumble, replaced by a sense of belonging that filled her heart. Eventually, as the night deepened, the festivities began to wind down. Penn found herself standing next to Deeg and Ruth, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of the lanterns that adorned the square. "This was incredible," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "It truly was," Deeg replied, his eyes shining with pride. "I think we've opened a door to something beautiful here." Ruth nodded, her expression thoughtful. "This is just the beginning. We have the opportunity to build a lasting connection between our communities, to create a legacy of understanding and friendship." Penn felt a rush of excitement at the thought. We can continue to share our cultures, to learn from each other. Imagine what we could achieve together. As they spoke, Penn realized that this gathering was more than just an event. It was a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of connection in overcoming fear and division. It was a chance for their communities to embrace their differences while celebrating their shared humanity. In the days that followed, the momentum of the gathering continued to ripple through the town. Penn, Deeg, and Ruth worked tirelessly to establish programs that would foster ongoing collaboration between their communities. They organized workshops, cultural exchanges, and opportunities for learning that would bridge the gap between their worlds. Each day brought new challenges, but Penn felt invigorated by the support of her newfound friends. She had found purpose in the work they were doing, a sense of fulfillment that came from making a difference. Months passed, and the collaboration between their communities flourished. Penn watched in awe as the town blossomed into a hub of cultural exchange and understanding. The shared experiences had fostered friendships that transcended the boundaries of their worlds. As she walked through the town square one sunny afternoon, Penn spotted a group of children from both communities playing together, their laughter echoing through the air. It warmed her heart to see the innocence of childhood breaking down the barriers that had once separated them. Determined to nurture this spirit of collaboration, Penn organized a series of workshops focused on art, music, and storytelling. She believed that creativity had the power to connect people in ways that words alone could not. The response was overwhelming. Artists, musicians, and storytellers from both communities eagerly signed up to share their talents and learn from one another. Penn felt a surge of excitement as she envisioned the possibilities that lay ahead. As the workshops began, she witnessed the magic of collaboration unfold before her eyes. People shared techniques, exchanged ideas, and inspired one another. The town square became a canvas for creativity, with colorful murals adorning the walls and melodies weaving through the air. Penn felt invigorated by the energy surrounding her. She realized that this was more than just art. It was a celebration of their shared humanity, a testament to the bonds that had formed between their communities. One day, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Penn gathered the participants to reflect on their experiences. "We've created something beautiful together," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "These connections are the seeds of change that will grow and thrive in our communities." The participants nodded, their faces illuminated by the glow of the setting sun. It was a moment of shared understanding, a recognition of the impact they were making together. As the seasons changed, Penn continued to witness the transformation of the town. the collaboration between their communities became a beacon of hope for others, inspiring neighboring towns to join in the efforts of unity and understanding. Penn felt a sense of fulfillment as she watched the impact of their work unfold. The friendships that had formed through shared experiences had woven a tapestry of connection, one that could not be easily unraveled. One crisp autumn day, Penn found herself seated at a table in the town square, surrounded by familiar faces. Deeg and Ruth joined her, their expressions filled with excitement. "We've received a proposal," Deeg announced, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "What kind of proposal?" Penn asked, intrigued. "We've been invited to share our experiences and strategies for fostering connection at a regional conference," Ruth explained. "It's an opportunity to showcase the work we've done and inspire others to create similar initiatives." Penn's heart raced at the thought. "That sounds incredible. We have so much to share." As they discussed the details, Penn felt a sense of purpose enveloping her. This was not just about their community, it was about spreading the message of unity and connection beyond their borders. They had the power to inspire change on a larger scale. In the weeks leading up to the conference, Penn, Deeg, and Ruth worked tirelessly to prepare their presentation. They gathered stories, testimonials, and examples of the impact their collaboration had made. Penn felt a surge of excitement as they envisioned sharing their journey with others. When the day of the conference arrived, Penn stood before a crowd of eager faces, her heart pounding in her chest. As she spoke about their experiences, she saw the spark of inspiration igniting in the eyes of those listening. It was a moment of connection, a reminder that their journey was not just their own. As the conference concluded, Penn felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. They had planted seeds of change, and she knew that their efforts would continue to ripple outward, inspiring others to embrace connection and understanding. Years passed, and Penn continued to watch as the town thrived, a living testament to the power of connection. The collaborative spirit that had blossomed between their communities had created a legacy that would endure for generations. As she stood in the town square one sunny afternoon, surrounded by the laughter of children and the vibrant energy of the community, Penn felt a profound sense of gratitude. She had embarked on a journey of self-discovery, and along the way, she had discovered the beauty of connection. Deeg and Ruth joined her, their faces reflecting the warmth of the sun. "Look at what we've created together," Ruth said, her voice filled with pride. Penn smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "This is just the beginning. There's so much more we can do together." With a shared vision and a commitment to nurturing their bond, they continued to dream of a future united in understanding, compassion, and friendship. Their journey had begun with a single step, and it had blossomed into a tapestry of connection that would resonate through the ages. As the sun set over the town, casting a golden glow over the square, Penn knew that their legacy would live on, a beacon of hope for those who sought to connect, to understand, and to embrace the beauty of their shared humanity.